You have to wait.
What is it? Stingrays. Nothing in these tanks yet, right?
In the middle of the tank, and the smaller fish in the tank will go up and get them, and every once in a while a larger fish will. And then also at this end of the tank where I am, you'll see this blue piece of plastic coming down into the water. It's attached to a white pole. It's what we call a target. The rays are target fed, and since rays have their mouth on their underside, or kind of on their belly if you will, there you see a bunch of krill coming through down in the middle of the tank again. Anyway, the capelin have a lot of protein in them. They kind of look like a sardine or a large lake smelt if you're from the Midwest and have seen that. And we are feeding them whole because that's how we can attach them to the target. And the rays eat like the nurse sharks do, and they look at the target. But the bottom line is these are wild animals. They see a food source, they go after it. And nurse sharks only eat dead or decaying animals. And of course the capelin that we're feeding to the rays are dead. So even though they're fed every other day, which should satisfy them, as I said, they are wild animals and they tend to get a little aggressive during feeding time of the other fish. Now you'll see a little fish head floating on the water right here in these front second and third windows. That's a capelin head. We are feeding pieces of capelin as well, because the smaller fish need to get some of that protein. And the final food...
However, the tissue was already dead and eventually it fell off on its own. We actually didn't need to amputate it.
Dolphin